Welcome to a new analysis of Tradomics. In this video, I will focus on Microsoft Corporation. We analyze Microsoft because it's a key stock that allows us to better understand the trend also of the Nasdaq 100 index. One of the things that I was observing is that if we compare the Nasdaq 100 index and Microsoft, we see basically the same trend. So that's why here in Tradomics, we compare Microsoft versus the Nasdaq 100 index and vice versa, because it gives us an idea of where the index is moving and vice versa. So we, as always, will use the cycle analysis. That is a methodology based on cycles and based on the duration of the cycles that allows us to give a projection of the price on a statistical mathematical way over the short, mid, and long term. And as for the title, Microsoft has to keep climbing in order to update or to find new tops. So we will find why. So first of all, to give an explanation based on data why Microsoft has to go over the recent tops is the following. First of all, we have to focus on the downward cycles and subsequently on the upward cycles. So from the downward cycle, we have had this low occurred on the 3rd of November 2022, which represent the starting of a multi-year cycle T plus 7. A T plus 7 can last between 3 to 5 years. This T plus 7 has been divided in the first yearly downward cycle, and since end of September, so 27th of September 2023, we are basically in the second yearly downward cycle. The second yearly upward cycle has been divided so far in the first T plus 3, so 3-month cycle, and the second T plus 3, 3-month cycles. And the sum of these two cycles has given us a T plus 4, a 6-month cycle. Now, since 25th of April 2024, we are in the second T plus 4 or in the second 6 months downward cycle, which has closed the first T plus 2. So the first monthly cycle that has had a total duration of 24 bars. So the minimum duration to close a monthly downward cycle. And now, given the push, we are um, actually expecting the rise of a new T plus 2. We still have time to close or to develop a T plus 4, a T plus 2 up to 44 bars. But given the initial push, here we can say that we are expecting a T plus 1 or a T plus 2. I still keep the question mark because I wanna be careful. But since last week, we are having evidence that a T plus 2 is on the edge. The most interesting part of the video analysis is the following. So we have always to count the upward cycle as the other flip of the coin. So regarding them, the first T plus 6, which started in November 2021 and ended here with this top on 18th of July 2023, has been divided in the first T plus 4, the second T plus 4, and the third T plus 4. For those that are a little bit familiar with our channel with the cycle analysis, this has been quite particular because generally stocks or also index can be divided in yearly upward cycles. But in this case, consider that the duration of this multi-year cycle has been 414 days. Here we have had a bi-yearly upward cycle that could not been segmented in first yearly upward cycle and second yearly upward cycle. So this means that the tendency, the volumetric tendency from November 2022 has been so high that we haven't had enough time to begin a T plus 5. And to begin a T plus 5, we need at least 48 days. So a cycle which has 2 degrees less of the cycle in focus. So a T plus 5 minus 2 is a T plus 3. Which has had a duration, a minimum duration under the top. So in this case, we have had 25 days under the top of reference, which was not a T plus 3, but was just a T plus 2. So we haven't had enough time under a low to begin a T plus 5. That's why we have had a B yearly upward cycle divided just in 3 times a T plus 4, 1, 2, and 3. And as said, this depends on the strong volumetric tendency. So if there are a lot of buyers versus sellers, the cycles are squeezed, so the time underneath a certain top is not enough to begin a wider cycle. That's why we have to count cycles with a degree less, in this case a T plus 4. Given this technicality that you can always find in the introduction of the T cycle analysis, so if you want, you can click on the pop-up bar on the right hand side and get to the video. The interesting part is the following. So if here we have had the evidence of a T plus 5, a T plus 5 can last between 190 and 338 days. This T plus 5 has been broken with this candle to the upside, and that's been broken before its minimum duration, right? So because if we gauge the time, at the time that the top was broken, we had 83 days. Therefore, the extension of this cycle is just towards the upside. And now we need to understand how much time is elapsed between this top and this top. So the time elapsed is 214 days, which is already encompassed between the minimum duration of 190 days. So this means that we have the necessary condition to start a new yearly upward cycle, which means, in a nutshell, push to the downside to proceed with a new cycle. But from this top to this top, we have had a total duration of 172 days, which is a T plus 4H. But from this top, we have had a new at least T plus 3 or T plus 4. And this top has occurred or has been signed over the former top. So that's why here there is another new cycle that is at least a T plus 3 or a T plus 4. So given that is a T plus 3 can last 48 days to 89 days, as a T plus 4, 94 days to 168 days, if this will be a T plus 4, and here I'm talking about the best case scenario, we can keep rising, or we can keep the rally on until at least 24 bars, which means that the price of Microsoft can rise until the 6th of August 2024. By having this in mind, we have now to further understand what this T plus 2 upward cycle means. Given that this T plus 2 belongs to this T plus 3, T plus 4, which belongs to this T plus 5, then the duration of a T plus 2 can last as a minimum duration of 24 days. So if we want to be conservative, then we have time to keep the rally on until end of this month. So until the 27th of June, the rally can proceed to the upside, at least. But then, as said, we have also the opportunity to extend the rally until August and even over, because the total duration 336 days 38 days can give us even a duration until November. Of course, the more we are getting closest to the maximum of the station, the higher the probability is to deal with a new T plus 5, therefore downwards trend. But technically speaking, from an algorithm perspective and time setup, we can extend the rally until November. That is all. I hope the analysis has given you further insights, and all the insights are for free. Thanks for watching, and see you to the next episode.